So this is a 2016 Corolla, and we're doing brakes and axles on both sides. Front pads and rotors and axles. And how do you know when your axles are bad? Well, this is one way you can tell. Find yourself a nice little open space. Turn your wheel all the way to the right as far as it can go, and then drive it. And like in that turning position, if you hear the little pop, 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 popping sound, then more than likely your left axle was bad if your steering wheel is turned all the way to the right. And if you turn your steering wheel all the way to the left and you hear that popping sound, then your right axle may be bad. So it's always usually the opposite. And how do we know that the rotors is bad on this vehicle we're about to do? When you're driving with a nice amount of speed and you start slowing down, you hit the brakes, a hard stop, and you feel the car shaking, or heavy vibration in the front, that usually means that your rotors are warped. So that's why we're changing the axles, because I'm getting the popping sound, and the rotors, because they're vibrating upon stopping. So the first thing you want to do is remove your axle nut. And you want to do it, if you're not using a power tool, you want to do it with your car still on the floor. And pull your hubcap off, expose the axle nut, and completely remove the axle nut while the car is grounded on the floor. And then after that, you jack your car up and remove the tire. And this is your axle nut. And then those are your lug nuts. Then once that's off, the axle is exposed. What I like to do is get a little something. I'm just using an extension right there, and I'm going to tap it with a hammer to make sure the axle moves. Just for a little bit of play. Once I get a little bit of play, I know I can continue, because the axle will move and it's not jammed. Because if it's jammed, go to a professional. Then you want to come down here and remove these 3 bolts. When those 3 bolts is removed, you want to pry down the control arm and remove the ball joint from out of the control arm. And that's going to give you all the play you need to get your axle out. This is a real easy, simple job, and it's fast, it's quick. Once that's exposed, once that's out like how you're seeing, you're going right up in there, and you're going to use a big pry bar or a big screwdriver, something strong enough to pry the axle right out, as I'm showing here. It's in there, and just pry it, the axle come right out. And then when you're putting the axle, the new one, back in, that whole brake system, caliper, spindle, and all of that, it just moves to the side. I use my shoulder to hold it to the side. Then I push the axle back in, the new axle. And then the shaft, I just bang the shaft back in, like just with a hand, like a slide motion. And it goes back in, and that's it. Then here we're doing the rotors. So we're going to remove these 2 nuts right there. It has a counter, just in case when you're turning it, you may have to put another wrench there. Then once that's off, we're going to remove these 2 bolts here. Then once that's off, we can just bang our rotor off. Since we're changing the rotor, we're going to get a sledge, and we're going to bang it off if it's locked on. Sometimes it's a little jammed on there, and you bang it. Not like that, not that little girl taps. I'm just showing you what you do, but you bang it. Then you just reverse the process to put everything back. Oh, look at me. And this is how you put your piston back inside the caliper. You just squeeze it like that. or you can use a caliper, whatever, brake caliper, push back tool to put it back. And then that's basically it. Follow the reverse process and put it back. If you run into a problem there, it's that simple. Push that back in. Everything is back. Job done.